Hoy te traigo un regalo de Navidad de auténtico lujo. Una entrevista con David Scott-Lewis, que lleva más de 50 años trabajando con inteligencia artificial. Exdirectivo en Microsoft, Samsung y Oracle. Inspiró la mítica película de hackers War Games, donde vimos un precursor de ChatGPT. Incluso fue uno de los pioneros en los años 90 de los sistemas de agentes autónomos que muy posiblemente veremos en 2025. Y con él hablo de temas tan interesantes como ¿hemos alcanzado la AGI? ¿Vamos a por la ASI, la superinteligencia? ¿Cómo puede afectar al futuro del trabajo? ¿Cuáles son las novedades recientes que más le han sorprendido? Y jugamos a ver el futuro con nuestras predicciones para 2025. Atentos porque el podcast de hoy es intenso y muy divertido. ¡Dentro podcast! Here we are with David Scott-Lewis again, more or less at the end of the year, Christmas Eve, and having an interview because artificial intelligence doesn't stop, right, David?
It does not. There's no break for AI.
Absolutely not. We have the last 2 weeks, absolutely crazy 2 weeks. In the comments of my YouTube channel, someone says, "Are you okay? Are you tired? You look tired. Maybe your skin color is not so okay." And I thought, totally exhausted. I hope this last week of the year it will be relaxed and having nice days with the family, because it's absolutely crazy the last 2 weeks.
Fortunately, Anthropic didn't have any serious announcements, so that's good.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm not sure, because
I'm not sure either, but anyway.
I think they are in the mood for news, especially with the last announcement of OpenAI that put above the rest again. So I don't know. What do you think about the last 2 weeks in general?
So I kind of agree with a private comment you had sent me that it seemed like the 12 days of OpenAI were becoming the 12 days of Google. And then, of course, I was very disappointed on day 11. Remember, on day 11, they opened talking about agents. And then they said, but that will be next year. And then they said, let's look at our desktop app. And it's like, I don't care about that. Okay, I want to hear about your agentic systems. And then on day 12, they redeemed themselves.
I was happy for day 11 because it was such a bad day for me to making a video. So it's okay that it was such a pity day. I thought that they go with a new in ChatGPT, like task or something like that. But they just released that minimal new. But the 12th day was big.
But we did know. Remember that folder that said AGI? Don't show this on the live stream. That occurred, I think. That was great. And obviously, this doesn't seem to be fake, right? This seems to be that it was real. Well, they weren't faking it. And when you look at Kevin's response, the product manager at OpenAI, it seemed like it was real. It didn't seem like this was a joke.
I don't know. It seemed a continuous joke that it turns to real, because on day 13 doesn't show. It was, I don't know, kind of a joke, but not a joke. But do you think O3 is AGI or not AGI, or it doesn't even matters if it is or if not it is?
So in May of 2024, when we spoke, when I was in Andorra with you, that's what we talked about, right? AGI, when it's going to happen. And now I would argue that maybe it's not really critical about that. And here's my point. Nobody gets hired for their general intelligence, right? That's game show knowledge. Who gets hired for game show knowledge? You can win a game show, but you're not going to get hired for that. So is that really essential anyway? And then we could see with the improvements in the models, looking from like an IQ of 85 to some tests that showed 120, 125. And then with the 01 release, we figured, okay, 01, when it gets out of preview, is going to be about 130, which seems like it's clocking in at that. And now we look at 03, which might be pushing, that's just pure speculation, maybe 135. Because of the exponential curve on IQs, it's not going to be easy to increase IQ levels very much, the effective IQ level. It's like when they say inference, is really kind of in a way like IQ. It's not, but it is from a practical perspective for most people. It really functions like IQ does. So we saw all that, and then, if the average IQ is 100, which it is, and if the average worker, a white-collar worker, might be 110, and it's already operating at 125, what does AGI's mean anyway, right? Does it really mean anything? And then, just seeing Ilya Sutskever when he started, since we last spoke, Safe Superintelligence. And if you saw his presentation in NeurIPS, it's kind of like AGI. Yeah, that's the last millennium, isn't it? It's like yesterday. Oh, by the way, the last time I wore my Feel the AGI from Ilya, now we have Feel the AS.
You're absolutely crazy. I love it.
So, that's Ilya, that's what he's doing. And that's now the march, right? It's, obviously there's a lot that has to be done. And, you saw the cost of how much it's going to cost to run
It's
O3.
insanely expensive to make working at the high level of O3.
At that level. But we know they're going to work on getting the cost down. That's going to be a big area. And that's, you have test time compute, test time training, and so on. That's going to help with resource allocation and figuring out when to do inference and such. And then the other big thing I would say going forward is, think about this. The Chain of Thought paper came out in January 2022. 3 years ago. 3 years ago. We've had then Tree of Thoughts, Graph of Thoughts. We've had other thoughts models, but I think Tree of Thoughts and Graph of Thoughts would be the next two logical to come after Chain of Thought. So there's still a lot more to do. And then we also see the models like R1 from DeepSeek. We see QWQ from Alibaba. Now, the chip embargo from the United States, really the real tough one, took effect just last month in mid-November. So figure when you do red teaming and you do guardrails and such, it's not going to affect any of their models from China for about maybe another 9 months, maybe even a year. It won't affect their models. So they'll be able to make progress to a pretty substantial level as well. But then, of course, that's when we start really entering into getting the cost down, right? Getting the cost down at O3 or whatever's going to follow O4. And then also looking toward ASI, how if the costs are this ridiculous.
My feeling with AGI and ACI is that, in fact, we have ACI. We have since latest 1990s Deep Blue that it's an ACI. It's the best in chess that any other human could possibly be, since we have ACIs in some other games. And my sensation is that we will have a bunch of ACI in a specific task. So we have just to connect them in order to make work properly in concrete areas. So maybe we don't need AG as a functional general intelligence like us. Why we need that? It's
right, exactly. We need it's going to be all domain focused. I think everybody kind of agrees that the 2025 is going to be domain specific applications. So what does general intelligence even mean? People are just moving the goalposts. If they don't like AGI, they move the goalposts, right? AGI now means that you can defeat space aliens in a war. They'll just move the goalposts. And then other people will say, oh, well, anything's AGI, right? I was surprised just following everything. I've read maybe 35 posts from Substacks, maybe a dozen from Beehives, looked about 15 videos, maybe 20 videos on O3 from YouTube, and just looking at what everybody's saying. I would say the consensus is that yes, we've effectively achieved AGI. I would say that's the consensus from all the various sources. It's effectively AGI. But then what does that really mean? If it's that expensive with O3, not O3 Mini, but even O3 Mini is not cheap. Okay, but O3, if it's that expensive, it's like, okay, we achieved it. Now we can roll it out cost effectively in how many years? How long will it take?
I think that will be fast. I think this point, but for my experience in the other areas and models, once we have the functionality, the optimization is quite fast, at least in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. I think it will be fast, but still, we're not sure. And then if we're going to have like Tree of Thoughts and then move to Graph of Thoughts, because that can handle nonlinearity better instead of linear. And Chain of Thought, we can have nonlinearity with Graph of Thoughts. Very good for that. Very good for creative applications. And then even Tree of Thoughts, where you get you get to look at different things simultaneously, not exactly nonlinearity, but you're looking at things simultaneously, looking at various options on your decision tree. And then the whole idea of simulated reasoning that comes with this, for even from chain of thought. So the private chain of thought behind O3. So there will be it will be quite an interesting year. I think next year, and the agentic systems will rolling out level 3.
No, I think we will discover different kind of intelligence, because until now we were comparing artificial intelligence to what we can do, and when we reach this level where artificial intelligence can do some things or some specific things that we cannot imagine, I think we will discover that artificial intelligence thinks or processes information in a total different way than we can do. So maybe we found out new abilities of the intelligence behind what can we do. And in some aspect, this is artificial superintelligence, despite it's not so useful or it's not so powerful. So it's interesting.
Well, I totally agree. I mean, will AI make us more intelligent? Is it going back and forth where then we make then the models more intelligent or whatever point? I think since we last spoke, and I mentioned to you this privately, is the AI scientist idea. And that's what my company's doing. And we're focused on that product development, not cute little Sora stuff. I have no interest in that, frankly. But looking at really how we can use it for R&D, product development. And then that got validated this year by the Nobel Prizes, right? The Nobel Prize in Chemistry, the Nobel Prize in Physics, it got validated. So by Hopfield and Hinton winning the physics prize, Hopfield for his work when he was at Caltech, developing neural nets, the first neural nets, then obviously Jeff Hinton, and then of course Demis Hassabis getting the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the work on AlphaFold and such. And that's kind of what we're kind of focused on. And that's what we want, right? We want cures for cancer. We want to be able to have nuclear fusion. We want to be able to solve climate problems, have climate repair, look at things that we just really haven't been able to look at. And I'm very optimistic. I'm an effective accelerationist. So I'm for it.
I don't remember who said that, but someone said, we have to accelerate because it's the only solution or the only possible solution to our problems, because with what we have now, the only path or the only destiny, it's the disaster. So we have to accelerate to find the solution.
Yes. And I'm even kind of optimistic that we might find, even like between America and China, ways that maybe it will help us even understand each other and even accept each other. Like, for example, you put in Chinese culture into a model, you put American culture into a model, and then they both can see objectively how that culture is going to react to a situation, rather than saying my culture is better, or we're better. They might say, well, yeah, given the way you guys are, maybe this is appropriate for you, and vice versa, where we can build some level of tolerance. I'm hopeful. That I'm a little, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But at this point, I am a little bit skeptical, because I think that people tends to be comfortable and tends to have reinforcement in his ideas. So artificial intelligence can do that, but also can create echoes canvas in a way that they just reinforce the way that people think. So I don't know. It's possible. It's wishable to have this kind of situation, but I don't think it will be the scenario in the future. But hopefully it can happen.
Hopefully. Yeah, we hope it will happen. Then of course there's the race between I agree with Eric Schmidt. It's important frankly, I believe it's important that heterogeneous liberal democracy, which is really going to be two of them, right? America and the UK are really the only two on the planet to any great extent, that they actually kind of lead the charge in AI. Even though we do a lot of dumb things in the US, we are a heterogeneous society. We need an America. So every there's got to be a place that anybody from anywhere on the planet can go and be successful. and their religion and everything else will get accepted. Yeah, if they're first generation, it will be tough. But the second generation, their kids graduate from Harvard. And the third generation, they're president of the United States. So, it's just, that's just the American way. We know we're an immigrant culture. We accept that. We don't necessarily like all the immigrants we're getting at any particular time, and not all of them are good. But nevertheless, we have that mentality. I think it's important that the U.S. does kind of take a lead on that. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out. I think with the chip embargo, what happened from mid-November, that's going to slow down China quite a bit. It's going to be very hard for them to get around that. But still, over the next year, they could develop O3 capability. I believe that's possible.
No, but the last year, every year it's the same. OpenAI shows something on January, and by July or August, the competence seems to be quite there in some way. So I think this year will be the same. And if it's not in China, will be Meta or will be Elon Musk. What do you think about Elon Musk now that Trump has won and have so plenty ideas of how to improve?
I do. You may have heard Sam Altman just made a comment that Elon Musk is kind of a bully. And I do feel that the way he's treating OpenAI is inappropriate. But if I had to tell you something, I mean, quite frankly, I think Elon Musk is the most important person on the planet because he brings the future to the rest of us. He has visions and he just says, do it. Okay, just do it. And he does it. Okay. So
that's a crazy point. He does.
Yeah.
I always say the same. It's like a James Bond villain. The bat of a James Bond movie in some kind of
yeah, it is. I mean, I think that's a good analogy. In the tech entrepreneurship world, he can do that. So, but that doesn't mean we agree with everything he does. I don't agree with everything he does. He's quirky, but so was Einstein. So was Isaac Newton. So they just didn't have social media to blast all their quirkiness to the world, right? So Einstein didn't have that, and Isaac Newton didn't have that. So that just kind of goes, par for the course for these kind of individuals, and Da Vinci as well, probably the greatest inventor, right, of the last millennium. So, Musk is Musk, but I don't like the way he's handling OpenAI. But I don't think he's going to win. But again, who knows on the legal aspects. Of course, one thing to make sure your audience understands, you probably have said this. I translated your transcript from your O3, but I don't know if how that came about, how that actually how good it was. But I was going to make a comment here. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Let's go on.
Okay, it was about something O3, but about Elon Musk, I think that just today they have raised another $6 billion to xAI.
Yes, I know what I was going to say. That everybody should remember. Everybody that's watching this, OpenAI cannot say they've achieved AGI because it's in the charter that if they do, their commercial relationships will be broken, which would include their commercial relationship with Microsoft, which is absolutely essential to them. I would say they need Microsoft more than Microsoft needs OpenAI, but I think it's a pretty good symbiotic relationship between the two. Here's the thing. Here's something probably your listeners have never really contemplated, or your viewers have never really contemplated. Microsoft's market cap, the value of Microsoft, has increased more due to their relationship with OpenAI than OpenAI's market cap, than their value in total.
That's absolutely crazy.
Think about that. Yeah. Think about that. And so it's been very beneficial to Microsoft. And when I was at Microsoft working on the BD team, we had a strategy that we would actually buy companies and we would kind of calculate how it would affect our share price. And in essence, they were free acquisitions for most of them. We could estimate, even if it was fractional, we could estimate, the market cap's going to go up a certain amount. That's when Microsoft had the highest market cap of any company in the world. It was Microsoft and Cisco, if you can believe that. So those were the two. And we would calculate that, and they're kind of still playing the same game, right? I mean, it's like, invest all this money in OpenAI, but our market cap goes up a lot more than what we invested in OpenAI. It's a free investment.
Yeah, I think we thought about this kind of situation that happened before, that with the money, it's in certain situations you can invest for free, even huge amounts of money. So for mortals, it's just like not situations, but in these levels, it's what you say. It's free investment at the end of the path or the year.
Yeah, it essentially is. So going back to what you asked about what's happened over the last couple of weeks, I thought the Google announcements were interesting. Astra's kind of cute. I don't know how. I mean, I think it's practical in the sense you can use your phone and look at something and it can tell you what it is and the like. Mariner, so here's another thing. We have the 5 levels of AI, right? That OpenAI created that framework. We need to have a framework for agents. Because even though level 3 is agents, we need another framework within that. A browser that goes and clicks on certain sites is maybe the lowest level agent. Okay, it could even be a single agent. It doesn't even have to be a multi-agent system. Do you really need a multi-agent system and pay the extra compute and all of that to find out instantly whether you can take a trip or can you wait 10 minutes? And I was using, I don't know if you ever played with this last year, but what was it called? Cognosis, and an agent GPT. And I was using those when they first came out, and I was showing to people. It was a single agent system, and I could show them how it does research. It would show its reasoning, what it's actually looking for, and such. It didn't do any real reasoning. It just showed kind of the steps it would take, and they made sense, and you could approve or disapprove, or just let it do it. And we saw that, and it worked well. But that's kind of very simple. If we have a multi-agent system, actually doing research, and it's looking at papers and running experiments and that's a different type of multi-agent. That's a different type of agent-based system, and so we need to have different levels, I think, in the agent world. Because matter of fact, something I probably never mentioned to you because it wasn't really appropriate in May, but now that agents are all the rage for 2025, I was actually the chair of the web agent session at the first International Conference on Autonomous Agents back in February 1997. And I was introduced to the conference organizers by Yoav Shoham, who's one of the founders of AI 21 in Israel. And he wrote the first paper on software agents, I believe, in 1991. So that time frame, 91, 93, something like that. So I've been involved with agent technology. Well, you could say I'm the guy that chaired the first session on web agents back in February of 1997. So I'm glad to see it come to where it's at. But we have certainly a long way to go. But there's a lot of theory, at least, that's been developed. And that will also be interesting because it's been all these years now, right? All these years, 1997. And you saw people like Patty Mays doing stuff, and I've said Yoav and Oren Etzioni, and so on. All these people that were like the leaders of agent technology in the mid 1990s, and for many years, not just then. And now we're, everybody's looking like, let's make it happen. So we might see some very interesting progress with agents. I am concerned with security issues because obviously hackers are going to look for the weakest link. And that's going to be, I think, a big issue with a multi-agent system is the hackers. But I think, yeah, we might see a lot of interesting developments. We didn't see many this year. This year was a lot of false starts.
Yeah.
Like Rabbit.
But do you think with the emergence of agents, we will forget the classical front-end, back-end applications? From the point of view that the agents doesn't need a front-end to operate. It's funny to see Project Mariner doing some stuff within the computer, but when I see this, but why they need that? They don't need the interface. They are not humans working with tools. They can be the tools.
It's like a headless browser, right? If you're going to do web scraping. Yeah. So why do you need the actual browser? And that's a very good point. I suspect that, and I think that's an excellent point. I could see that humans may want to know what the agent's doing, that it's clicking here, clicking there, rather than like it goes in the black void, it goes in the world of dark matter, and then it comes back with an answer. So I could see from a human comfort point of view, they're going to want to see what it's doing.
Yeah,
But it doesn't really need to. And I think
yeah,
that's your point.
that's the point that we are
Yeah.
trying to operate with tools like they weren't substitutes of us, but they can operate in parallel, they can operate in different levels, they can operate within them in a ways we doesn't know, and we can have in fact superintelligence, specific superintelligence with general superintelligence talking within them. That's for me so crazy, and sometimes I think we are just trying to replicate what we know it works, but it's not efficient.
It may not be efficient. I think a lot of automation of trying to do what humans do with computers isn't efficient. So this is just carrying on along those lines. So we'll see. I suspect as people maybe trust it more, we could see more of these kinds of headless browser kind of activities. We don't need to actually see it operating. Just let it go. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see I think a lot of it's going to be how users are going to react to it, how comfortable they'll be with the systems. And then,
the
all
the
this
problem
kind
of the adoption. The
yes,
problem of the adoption of the technology. I think it's the biggest problem. When someone says artificial intelligence will change the world in 5 years, I say, well, it depends on us more than on the technology, because it's so slow, the process. Many companies doesn't use ChatGPT 2 years from the launching. So
yeah. Now it might it may change with everything that's going on. They may see something more useful. I do believe on the employee headcount issue, that's going to be a big deal. I've said, and I still maintain that some of the most rampant implementations will be the highest paying jobs. So you've got software engineers, lawyers, accountants, management consultants, iBankers. They have to be concerned, especially people that are doing work like in contract law. They're not in court. They're not solicitors. They're not actually pleading cases before the court. And even then, it could be a different situation. We're already talking about AI arbitrators in international commercial arbitration situations. So we'll see how that goes. But certainly, like in contract law, things of that nature, AI's got to take over. But one of the things I keep, because I have to deal with a lot of people on a daily basis about this, their careers and what they're looking at and such. And it's not so much I'm concerned at first that people will get fired. It's that people won't get hired.
this is when you were talking, I was remembering this exact sentence you said the first time we met, that the problem is not for who are working, it's the problem for who are not still working.
And I think it is a problem for people who are working eventually, but not at first. Because it's easier, Wall Street doesn't penalize you so much if you don't hire new people. But Wall Street, it's mixed. Your market, your profitability could go up if you fire people. That's true. But you're also going to get some media coverage that's not going to be favorable. Depends how the firings are done, whether they're justified, and so on. So, but not hiring people, yeah, that's going to be a big issue. So I think the younger people who have not really developed the expertise, who really don't add a lot of value to most corporations when they come out of school, let's be honest about that, they don't. Okay, well, they're a good target, as well as the very highly paid employees. I don't think, I tell people, look, it's not going to be that they're going to fire all lawyers, but one lawyer could replace two others. So you have one instead of three. And I think that can certainly happen with what's going on, especially with all the legal AI that's going on. So I could see that. Yeah, go ahead.
In this scenario, what would you recommend to youngsters, to young people that is ending his college time and it's about to start working? What would you recommend to prepare for this future?
Yeah, you may have seen Connor Grennan's video from NYU, and he said English majors are the future of AI. And it's like, okay, and I understand what he's saying. Can you talk to the model? That might be a little bit simplistic. I would say if you look at where the funding level is, and if you look at what even OpenAI is saying, where they're going to have the most impact with O1, forget O3, with O1. It's going to be in math and physics, secondarily in the life sciences and so on. Then we have to look at, well, is there economic value in what they're doing? Yeah, to a certain extent. Maybe life sciences more because they can cure diseases that we all want. Other things, yeah, it's harder to say. I would definitely say don't major in math or physics for a student. I would say that's just like a total, just a total waste of time. Maybe there will be some mathematicians, but as I mentioned, when Ilya Sutskever was asked last year at the Center for Brains, Minds, and Machines Symposium at MIT, when he was asked, will in 5 years an AI model create new non-trivial math? And he said, what makes you think the current model can't do that? And that was 4. Okay, we're talking about GPT-4, and Sutskever saying this at that time. So, these are problematic. Data science, I can't imagine there's data scientists in 10 years. How many people actually have people creating their spreadsheets? We do our own spreadsheets now, right? Okay, we do our own typing. Yeah.
Not just spreadsheets. You can make your own dashboards from some CCF file in just 30 minutes talking with O1. And it works better than many of the dashboards. And you don't have to talk to someone in order, this is not exactly what I want, change it, and I have to wait for 2 days. It's just, I don't like it, change it, 5 minutes. At a long time to have a new dashboard.
Look at what we have with Canvas now, right? With 4.0 Canvas. And from the metrics I just saw, by the way, I want to recommend for your viewers, they may not be familiar with this benchmark. I'm going to highly recommend it. It's the Live Bench. And what makes the Live Bench somewhat unique, of all the major benchmarks right now, none of them have O1. Okay, they have O1 preview, but they don't have O1. Live Bench does. So Live Bench it tends to be pretty quick at getting to these models. So I would highly recommend people take a look at that. But they also put categories like in reasoning ability. I actually have it on my computer here, and they different categories: math and reasoning, coding, and so on. And you can see where O1 is really way ahead of Preview, Mini, and such, and everything else. Now you look at Anthropic, you look at 3.5 Sonnet, and it's not terribly impressive. Even in creative writing, 4.0 with Canvas is doing better on the benchmarks.
To be fair with the rest of companies, they haven't released yet their reason models, so we have to wait a little bit. I hope that OpenAI released GPT 4.5 or something like that in these 12 days, because GPT 4.0, I think it's a little bit above Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and maybe some of the models of Google. So I miss that. So they are all in with their reasoning models. It's normal if we take into account what O3 has showed to the world. But I hope I have the feeling that they should have released or showing something like GPT 4.5, because it seems that it's not their battle anymore. They are focusing on reasoning models and the standard models that are really useful and are what the kind of models that give you the fast response. So the kind of technology you need to build some kind of applications, and they for the time it seems like it's in a second page.
I agree. Now, I think you've heard the same rumors that I've heard over the last week that they're having some trouble with so-called GPT-5, and it might be delayed as to what they're going to do. But they'll have their GPT model, they'll have their reasoning line. If it's Orion or what the O stands for, who knows? But whether the O in O1 and O3 is Orion, but whatever it is, they'll have the 2 separate lines for different functions, one very cheap, one very fast. I am surprised that they actually went ahead and released 4.0 with Canvas for free. As long as you register, it's for free.
It's for free because really, really fast you get out of credits, but it's more or less for free.
But think about this. Anthropic took away the free access to Sonnet. So now you have to use Haiku. If you're using the free, Haiku's not very good, so you're not getting a lot. And most people aren't going to go to Google AI Studio and play with the Gemini models. Or they might get Google Advanced, Gemini Advanced. They may pay the $20 for that, and that has extra features, right? Like deep research and so on that you don't get with
It was
AI
quite
Studio.
well. It's quite surprising. I haven't made a video yet in the channel, but the deep research feature, it outperforms Perplexity, for example, in clearly, I would say. It's maybe don't a feature that many people doesn't focus because it's a paid feature and it's not so fancy, but it works really, really well.
I would, if your viewers are not familiar with it, I would say to have them check out Stanford Storm, which is from Stanford. It's like deep research. I would argue it's better than deep research. Some of the feedback on deep research shows that if you want to interact with it, it evidently doesn't do well in that capacity. It kind of produces the research, but it's hard to interact with it along the way. Stanford Storm is from Stanford. It's from Stanford University. It produces articles based on a conversation. It will generate a lot of references. I'll generate like 500 to 1,000 references fairly easily. From this, you can just have it chat with itself, or you can say, okay, time out. Let's do this. Let's pretend you're from McKinsey. What would McKinsey say? Let's say you're from Gartner. It's an IT thing. What would Gartner say? You can do that. Or JP Morgan if you're doing a financial deal. So you can actually ask it to take on different roles and just throw yourself in the conversation. I find it's better than deep research. And it's free.
It's free, and I have to try it. Stanford Storm.
Stanford Storm. The one downside, just to let everybody know, it runs on 4.0 mini. That's not the best model, but it is open source. And if you're capable of running it, you could run it on 0.1 if you wanted to do that. I'm not sure I would recommend that because it's a lot of tokens you're going to throw if you're generating 1,000 references. But still, you could run it and get a better model. But even I find even with 4.0 mini, it does a really good job. And it's not uncommon for me to run Storm on a particular topic, and then I'll put it into 0.1, and that's how I seed 0.1. Because I still maintain that of the three ways of getting the best results, seeding, context, and prompting, seeding will be the best. If you seed it properly, it kind of gets what you're really after. The format may not be what you want. And I usually say, look, I want to see the format. Half of the time, the format's better than the one I would have picked. So, so let's see. And if I don't like it, then I say, okay, follow this format. Okay, that's fine. But as we know, prompting is getting less important, although it's still important, but it's getting less important. And then context, also context is getting, we can make an argument that's becoming less important. I still think it's pretty important to do context, mainly to get the kind of output you want, and provide examples. And that actually is something that 0.1 should get. 0.1 should get some examples, but the seeding it. So Storm's great. You can seed it. You have something that's you won't see all the references because of the way they have pop-up menus for the reference pop-ups. I'm sorry, not menus, pop-ups for the references, but you could have 500 references worth of content. Throw it into 0.1. Well, actually, in all fairness, I should say this: after maybe about 500, up to about 500 references, it will fit in the 32K context window for 0.1. But if you're using API access, you could do close to 2,000 references if you wanted to, and then let the reasoning ability of 0.1 work on that material.
No, that's amazing. I have to try to give a try to the Stanford Storm because I didn't know about this tool, and
it's great.
It seems really, really, really interesting.
Open source, free, the whole bit.
Well, open source, I assume that you put your own API?
No, you just run it. It's totally free. It's a web interface.
I have to try it and maybe making a video about it because it seems just amazing. That's
it is. It is quite. It's quite. They recently changed the way it looked. The fonts were kind of goofy. They kind of made it look a little bit better. As they're getting more. You know how it is. The engineers design it, and there's nothing
there's
about
no
aesthetics.
design.
Yeah, there's no design. There's no aesthetics. Just get out. We're engineers. What do we care? But it's a little better
say that about that prompting. It's day-to-day less important to use these tools. I totally agree, and I think that the most important thing is the people who's behind using the tool knowing where he wants to reach, the final point, the goal, and making the structure of the steps in order. And it's you just ask the correct steps. It doesn't matter the prompt. You get the information in packages. You just filter the information that is good, correct. It's if it's not perfect, but if you are going or filtering or widening the project, you get the final goal normally quite fast and quite good.
Yeah, where I do see prompting becoming necessary for some people. Let's say they're on the Pro, not the Pro, they're on Plus, and they're using 01. They got their 50 uses per week. They're coming up on their 50. Then you got to have a really good prompt because you can't take 3 to 5 queries to get to say, you know what I mean? Because you're going to run out. So then you have to kind of throw it in. Even though 01 doesn't like that, you kind of have to do that. So, but if you're on Pro, it doesn't make any difference, right? Because it's
I'm on Pro at least this month.
Yeah, at least this month. Yeah, everybody is, right? Everybody's on Pro this month. Yeah, we'll see what happens next month.
It was funny because I have a good patrocinador. I don't know how it's a sponsor in the channel that I have free to make things. And when Pro goes on the show, I said, okay, let's have one Pro that it's thanks to my sponsor that I could. And I made a video in order to try Sora and the promote to the channel. And it was quite funny. Yeah. Sora, it's a total disappointment. I know that the video part it's not so interesting, but it's not. It hasn't been what they promised at a certain point. But the 01 Pro, it's surprisingly good. I didn't thought that it would be so good.
The inference is a little bit better than 01, certainly much better than 01 preview. So it's some good steps. OpenAI seems to be balancing the test time reality, whether it's computer training, and also with chain of thought. I think a lot of people should really, if they're not familiar with tree of thoughts and graph of thoughts, they should take a look at that. There's stuff beyond there. There's ways beyond that. But at least we have those two next in line, especially tree of thoughts will likely be next. So what would a tree of thoughts, how much better could that be? Well, it could be substantially better than chain of thought. So we'll see how, we have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
We have a lot to look forward. I mean, now that chain of thought worked, okay, now it's like, okay, that's 3 years old, guys. Let's move on. Okay, let's go to the next level.
Which are your predictions for 2025?
So I do think agentic systems will be probably the biggest deal of 2025, and it's something the consumers will get the most out of. And the reason I say that, even though I think for my own business and such, that 03 would be the most important for research and things of that nature, that's enterprise applications. For the consumer, it's going to be agents. It's going to be agent-based systems. So whether they're single or multi, we'll see how that pans out. But I think that's going to be the big one. As you know, my company also does RAG. We do RAG, and RAG and agentic systems go like this. I mean, if you have an agentic system, you have RAG. So we're looking forward to that. And then will we have the AI scientist level 4, the innovator? Will we have that? I believe we will. I believe we've seen enough progress in these areas. I see a lot of papers coming out similar to the AI scientist paper from Sakana. I see a lot of that every week. So there's going to be, I think we're going to see some interesting advancements there. But again, that's not consumer facing, that's enterprise facing. So, and then obviously level 5 organizational, I think that's going to take a while, but that won't be next year. So I do think we will see on the enterprise level, we'll see some progress toward level 4. I think for consumers, level 4 probably doesn't matter that much. And I mean, it matters as somebody who wants to get cured of cancer, it matters. But for them personally, it's not going to have, they're not going to play with level 4 very much. I don't think so, at least not initially. And that will be expensive because people will buy O3, right? They'll do that because it's worth it. Noam Brown, Noam Brown from OpenAI. And Noam said once in one of his tweets, and I'm probably going to misquote it, but the essence is correct. He said, "Would you wait a week and pay all the inference cost and all the compute if you could get a cure for a type of cancer?" And the answer is, of course we would. Okay, of course we would. We're going to wait a week for a cure for cancer. Of course we will. So those kinds of things. I do suspect we'll be pushing people. There's enough financial payback for corporations in certain areas that it's going to be worthwhile in material science and many other areas besides pharmaceuticals and such. Fusion, I think we'll see that. Even in renewable energy, I've been looking at things like language models that are based on a battery for an electric vehicle. So we can see such developments going back to domain specific, where the model is domain specific. It's from the ground up, it's domain specific. So I suspect we'll see those, but consumers, it's agentic. I think it's agentic. I think we'll have more tools like Canvas. I think Canvas, between you and me, I probably still like 3.5 Sonnet's writing better than Canvas. But I really like the Canvas tools where you have the slider and you can say, okay, do it at second level college or graduate school or whatever, make it longer, make it shorter. I wish they had better controls on longer or shorter. If it's like 700 words and you say shorter, it comes to 300 words. It's like, how about 500 words? Let's have something a little, don't have such a dramatic difference. But also, and then the final touches, the last, the second from the top, after the emojis, where you have final touches, it does the final edits and such, and it's good. And if we had that kind of capability for Sonnet, for Claude, I should say, it may not be Sonnet, right? It might be Opus or whatever it's going to be next year.
But, I really love that precisely OpenAI started to make these changes in the interfaces that we interact with artificial intelligence, because in my opinion, they were guilty about the abuse of conversational interfaces. They were so limited, and it seems that with a chatbot you could make everything, and it's not true. So I'm really, really happy that OpenAI corrects in some kind of point this mistake, because with the proper interfaces and ways to use these models, everything is quite smooth, quite faster, and the results are better, because at the end, it's humans working with technology. So we cannot just talk everything we want and hoping that an intelligence understands us perfect.
Yeah, I was just trying to look up one of the benchmarks, but I don't see it. Don't see it here. This is the one with LiveBench, which has O1 in the lead, as you would expect. Reasoning's way off the chart compared to everybody else. But there was one of them I saw, and I don't remember which one it was then, because it is not on LiveBench. But it was on creative writing, and 4.0 was higher than 3.5 Sonnet. Now, I don't feel that way, but that's me. A lot of that's subjective, right? A lot of that is subjective.
I thought I have the same feeling that Sonnet is better in writing in more flexible style and adapting to the context of what you want to explain. But I don't know how the benchmark it's made. But my feeling is Sonnet is better at that field. I
don't know if you played too much with 2.0 Flash experimental and 2.0 Flash thinking experimental. I've seen people, I played around a little bit with it, looking at creative writing, and its creative writing is pretty good.
Gemini.
I wasn't expecting much.
No,
I wasn't expecting much.
I always say that
bar.
the style of writing of Gemini, I like it. What I didn't like it's what it writes factually, but the style it's nice. In fact, in the leaderboard in the chatbot arena, Google models where they haven't put the style correction always go up than other models because they sound more, I don't know if human, but they write in a style that it was nicer than others. So they put better score if we take it into account the style. When you retire the style, the Gemini models always go a little bit down.
Right. Yeah. And as you know, I've been a big fan of Gemini. I've been using it a lot, primarily because of the context windows, and we've talked about that a lot. And it seems now, I was telling you ways to get around it. You had to kind of talk to it and say, did you really analyze everything I uploaded? Then it says, no, I didn't. Only the 10 or the first 10%. Then
you have to go with the gun.
Yeah. Put a gun to its head and do it. And then it does it. But now it seems like, when you ask it, did you do only the top first 10? It says, no, I did it all. And then I'll ask it a question to see, did it do it all? And it did. It did. So Gemini seems to be instruction following a little bit better. Okay. If it says it,
that's good news.
Yeah. What's the point of having a large context window if it's only going to read the first 10, 15% anyway, right? What's the point? You're just deceiving yourself, thinking that you got all the context there. And it's like, yeah, it's there, but I'm not paying attention to it. So what
I always ask for quotes. Write the quote.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I found in which page it is. And okay, it's in the 500 page. It's not bad. It seems like you have going quite deep.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been pretty impressed with what Google's doing now. Let's see how it rolls out. We don't have pricing on a lot of this, but it seems like the pricing for Flash, for 2.0 Flash, is very cheap compared to, and then looking at the benchmarks, it's like that might be the best bargain in town right now, right? 2.0 Flash experimental is probably the best price performance of any model. So good for Google. That they, Google's got some money to throw at this, so they can, and I'm glad they're choosing to do so. We'll see how it goes with some of the other models. I really wonder about the thinking in their models, but we'll see. We'll see. They haven't, they haven't said a lot about that yet.
Yeah, I have read some news, but I'm oversaturated these days, and I have it to review, but I think they have launched something related to thinking models, or at least announced something in this field too.
Yeah, it says thinking, so okay, and then you can see like even what is it 12? What is it 12? What's which model is it? Their latest experimental 1206, the one from earlier this month. That one has the 2 million context window, 2 million token context window. So you get the full context window. Of course, you don't get that with Flash, 2.0 Flash Thinking Experimental. You only get the 32K context window. So, but at least there's a large context window that performs well on the benchmarks, with 2 million tokens. And I hope, DeepMind keeps on saying, yeah, it's going to be limitless. Okay, DeepMind, let's, I like Demis.
Deliver for that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that, man. I'm going to put. You can imagine. I have 7,000 ebooks. I'm going to put them all in the context window. It's we'll see how that works out. But I'm obviously I'm kidding about that, but yeah, let's see. That I think it does matter. I notice when I use and take advantage of the full context window, I do get more insights than I would with other models, and that's even with lesser reasoning capabilities. And it's like Jeff Hinton gave an example. It's just because it's analyzed all that data. It's analyzing everything you're giving it. It kind of knows what you're looking for. Again, my idea of seeding the model, right? Telling it what you want by giving it lots of stuff to go and analyze, and it does a good job. It does a better, I mean, I would say in some ways it does equal job to O1. It's different. It's a different kind of a job. It will notice things that the other models won't notice.
I think one it's more horizontal, about the more surface to cover, and the other it's more deep. I focus on that,
Right.
and I
Right.
go deeper. It's
Right.
I think that the future, it's tools that mix these models and decide when they have to use one or another in order to give at any step the correct information to the proper model. And I think these will be tools we will see. Well,
Yeah.
we can see tools like that. In fact, Perplexity in a way, it's that use all the models, and in each phase or in each step, it uses one or another.
Yeah. So what are your projections? We can talk about those. Let's talk about some of your forecasts.
Well, okay. My predictions is, first of all, Europe will be on the wagon of the train, the last wagon, another year in a row. I don't know why, but it's my feeling. That's the first.
I should interrupt and say, so which new regulations will the EU put on AI next year?
I don't know. I think we have enough regulations. I hope that they could go backwards, or at least understand what are they doing. It's not the proper way to proper innovation, but I don't know. I don't really know. I have to invest in VPNs companies right now. Yeah. And I don't know. The other prediction for me, it's an easy prediction, because video tools, I don't know, you are not so in the video tools, but it's amazing what VO2, the Google model.
Yeah, the Google, yeah.
I have been seeing some videos made for users, not just demos, that are absolutely stunning. So my prediction is that some months ago, I said that in 2026 we will see a movie made with AI technology, primarily with AI technology in theaters. I don't know if it maybe could be earlier even. It's absolutely nuts what we have in video now. In fact, I will translate it and I will send you my Christmas a little video for Christmas that I made.
Okay.
It's amazing, the video part. The other thing is that I think all the education or formation inside enterprises will boost. I think many companies will understand that there is a real opportunity here. Until now, I think that they say, well, I try it and it doesn't work as I expect. So I think this will be start using seriously in companies. So this will boost the adoption. Mm-hmm. And at technical level, I think it's time for agents. We will, as you said, we are waiting for them since 2022. Seems so long time ago, but I think it's
for myself since 1997. So,
but when we talk of May, you said, and in last year were agents, and the other time we talked, you said, agents this time it seems to be on the wardrobe. It's on a secondary plane, so I think it's time to agents come here, and I will see what happens with robotics. I have seen an Uni3 demo of one of his new robots, and it's absolutely stunning what can do, moving through so different surfaces and materials. And I think it's time to be some advancing practical robotical stuff. So because it's something we have been seeing for the last 2-3 years, but it's in a box. We don't see anything for the customer. And I think we will see something interesting in robotics. It's slower always, the robotic thing, because the hardware, it's so expensive and it's difficult to scale the industry. But I think we have to see something in robotics. We want to see that.
Okay. Yeah, I pretty much would agree with all of that. I do follow robotics fairly closely, autonomous systems, just like with agents, right? Agents are basically the foundation of that. So So I do agree that we'll see a lot of advancements in those fields. Yeah, and it's hard to say what the big one would be, but maybe it would be in reasoning still. But again, that won't be for the consumer. That will be for enterprise. But it will get a lot of media coverage.
Now, if some robot it's practical, useful, and even it's at some really specific point for some high-end company, but if it really happens, we will see this in the media, and it will be some front pages for.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see, what's interesting, if you look at Nature, the journal Nature, they have a lot of articles on their various publications. The Nature, they have lots of different publications, of course, review article type journals and plus research focused, entirely research focused, and Nature itself. And if you look at the articles, Nature Machine Intelligence, Nature and such, you'll see articles using 3.5 for material science, fine-tuned, and getting great results. Now, that's 3.5.
It's 2 years ago
Now,
technology.
Yeah, and then think of where we're at and what we might see. So I'm not sure I want to go out on a limb and say we're going to get a major breakthrough next year, but we might get some major breakthrough next year where people are using the more advanced models. And we just might see that. It depends how quickly they can fine tune it, how they can adapt their existing models to fine tuning. The other models, we'll see, but that will also change things. Just like this year with the Nobel Prizes, next year it's a real cure for something, or something of some significance.
We're on the time of the predictions, and I have here one point that we haven't talked about. Willow. What do you think about Quantix? It will have any kind of impact or not? We are not quite yet there.
So let me give my take on that, because I have followed quantum for a long time as well. The problem with quantum is this, and this is, again, something your viewers may not be really aware of. If you look at all the papers that are published in AI historically has been very open. AI research has been very open. Quantum has been completely the opposite of that, where there's actually very few papers relative to the number of papers in AI, even before ChatGPT, even when it was slow, even during the AI winners, there were many more AI papers than there were quantum. And why is that? Most of the quantum research is classified. So you got to think of this. Who employs the most physicists in the world? The US Department of Energy labs. Department of Energy as in nuclear weapons, as in the Human Genome Project, okay? That's the Department of Energy. But they don't publish that many papers. So what's going on? We just don't know, because it's classified. And same with the Chinese. They don't publish that either. So the stuff you see that's in the press, it's from IBM, it's from Google. You'll see it from certain companies, but in general, you're not going to see. So what's the DOE doing with all these thousands of physicists? What are they working on? Yeah, fusion. Okay, I understand they're working on fusion, some other things as well, but a lot of them are working on quantum, and they're actually the right people. Complex Systems, Santa Fe Institute, Department. What is Santa Fe Institute? Where's it located? Near one of the key DOE labs. I mean, near two of them, right where the atomic bomb was built. Okay, so we just don't know. So that's why that's my comment on Willow. Is this I fundamentally believe we just don't know what's happening in quantum.
Related to this, because many times I think that quantum and artificial intelligence at some point they can make a perfect mix and boost each other.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's what IBM says.
Yeah, but for what I have read about quantum, I don't really know how this could be easily happen with the way we build computing in quantum. So how do you think it could happen, if it could happen in an easy way? Or it's not easy, the word, but simple way.
So the concern I would have there is that the programming, the coding that goes into quantum is completely different.
Exactly,
So
that's the point.
So I would really wonder how well our architectures and such that we have now would even translate to taking advantage of quantum. Maybe, but maybe not. So I would really wonder, and I would hardly think they're optimized for quantum. So I think there's just a lot. I think that's the next big thing. But we'll still have a lot of progress in AI the way it is. Whether it's, we go beyond transformers or whatever, that doesn't matter. Yanlo Kun probably is not having a good day these days anyway. but anyway, but besides the transformer issue,
I'm quite. I wouldn't say the word fan, but I listened to him carefully, and I said, well, I'm agree that maybe it's not exactly how he predicts, but it's always it's like I don't know how it's in English, una balanza. It's he says the things that the others doesn't say to you, so you can have the other point of view. But this last announcement of O3, I think it's quite surprising for all of the community.
I feel Gary Marcus now is just, he's getting like desperate to make points. I read his last two newsletters that he published on Substack, and it's like, yeah, you're kind of like, you're groping. You're just, just like randomly trying to explain things that are happening, and it's not right. So I mean, from my interpretation of what he's saying, it's not. He's attacking Arc AGI, and he's attacking what happened, and to a certain extent, and it's just not that way. It's not really what happened. I would say Francois was actually very anti OpenAI for quite a long time.
So in fact, Francois, it's at least until now, it's quite on the position of Jan LeCun, more or less, for what I read from him. So it's not
and now look,
suspect.
And look at O3. Now that's on high compute, but look at on O3 that it beats the average human. It's damn expensive, but it already beats the average human. So I mean, in that case, you would have to say yes. If you believe in nothing else, that's AGI by definition. Now, I can understand where people might say, well, it's not really AGI if it costs you a lot of money to do that. That isn't what AGI is supposed to be about, and we can get the cost down. Okay, if we can get there, we got it. We can work on the cost.
Yeah, that's the point. It's AGI. It's AGI despite the cost. That's a problem maybe for use it, but if it works, it works. Then,
by the way, have you played with Devin at all?
No, I haven't played with
Devin. Now I wonder on a pricing model, because of course everybody's concerned about pricing, right? We all got the shock. It's like Pro is how much each month? It's like, okay, 20 to 200. Oh, then maybe you saw a couple of weeks ago the CFO at OpenAI said, well, we're going to have 2,000 a month. It's like, oh, okay, that's kind of cute. So you're kind of letting us know there's something coming out, right? We don't know what, but something you're thinking of.
If increasing the pricing means making better products instead of making the lower pricer products dumber or less useful, okay. So, but I'm afraid that in the process, the lower product will be less useful.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's to be expected. Just on the compute that you get, all the advantages you get with the prices that they're talking about. But yeah, she said that. So, but Devin's coming in at 500 for a team. It's unlimited use. I don't know how they're going to do that for unlimited use, but we'll see. I don't see Devin replacing programmers, and I don't think they do either. But it's more the idea that you're going to take one programmer who's so efficient that in that sense you're replacing programmers.
No, the
sorry,
whole
I have
point
some background noise here.
I think that's the whole point. It's people using technology, and if people using technology, one people or one person, it's as useful as a team of 10, you have 9 people less in the crew needed.
Yeah, if you can get that kind of a productivity gain. I don't know if Devin's going to actually produce that much, but even if it's 1.5 times for $500 a month for $6,000 a year, that's
It's worth
not
it.
so bad for a software engineer. So yeah, I wish them good luck, because I think they could be one of the first that actually, because they have a coding application, a direct coding application, versus O1 is good at coding, O3 is good at coding, but it's not like directly a coding application. Maybe they'll have that. In some ways it seems like O3 is really heavily focused on math and physics and coding and such. But Devin is a direct application of that. So that will be interesting to watch, I think, next year. Adoption of Devin. It's a good team, smart guys. We'll see.
I don't think it's so expensive, because when you think about licenses of specific software in architecture world or in some specific fields, it is expensive, and it's just a tool that someone has to make the real work with it. And this is a tool that it's maybe expensive, but it does the work. It doesn't need so much humans to work with it. That's a crucial difference. And I know that there are many tools in architecture that cost about or more or less 200, 300 euros a month. And it's just a regular tool.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us are going to watch next year. I think the O3 Mini pricing will be closely watched. O3, you got to have a lot of changes to get that pricing to a reasonable level. Or have certain applications like pharmaceutical drug development, something where there's extremely high payback for using that. But O3 Mini will be interesting to watch. How cheaply can they get that? And that might be something we'll see by the end of the year.
That will be super interesting. In 2026, we will have this must be a tradition on Christmas to making new predictions.
Yeah, new predictions.
It's really, really fun. I think we have covered.
I think we have too.
Everything I have in the list. So, well, for me, we can end this special Christmas podcast here. I don't know if you have anything else to talk about.
No. Just look forward to 2025. We'll have AI will not sleep, and we'll have a lot of interesting things. We know Anthropic's got to come up with something soon or become irrelevant. So I'm sure they're going to release something soon. And I think we've all been pretty impressed with what Gemini's doing. Of course, we're all hoping that Google will actually have a real functioning product and not just good demos. So we'll see.
They so arrived late, but they arrived with muscle to surprise us.
So we'll see. So it should be a very interesting year. I'm looking forward to the agents, everything else. So let's continue this dialogue, and we'll see what happens. And of course, Merry Christmas to all. Feliz Navidad.
Merry Christmas.
To all your viewers. Okay. Bye.
Okay. I start here and record.